Hello friends, how are we doing today? I gotcha. Well, it is afternoon when I'm recording this, so I've actually already had my day, gone to work, went on my walk, all that fun stuff. We are having a jasmine green tea today. Anyway, so whether it's near the end of your day, like it is for me, or whether it's the morning, I hope that you remember at some point to get up, to stretch a little bit, to drink some water, take your meds that applies to you, eat something if you can. And I hope that you remember that you are loved, you matter. I'm so glad you're here with me. And I hope that you have a good day or a good rest of your day. So I have support group in a little bit, but I wanted to build my new Lego set. My wife got me a unicorn Lego set the other day, and so I'm going to put that together while we chat. So one of the questions I received not too long ago was about my tattoos and if there were any stories behind them and all that fun stuff. And if you know me by now, a lot of things about me either have a story or they were just done on a whim. So I'm going to go through the few tattoos I have chronologically, and so hopefully it'll be interesting for you, hence the tank top. Anyway, so my very first tattoo is this tiny one right here. I'm not even sure if you could see it. I was 18 and I just wanted a tattoo. I legally could get a tattoo, and I wanted to have a tattoo so I could say I had a tattoo. I had no idea what I wanted, and I had $40. So I went to a random tattoo shop and picked out a Chinese character. I think it's supposed to mean Earth or something like that. I don't even remember. It's been so long because I'm that old now. And so not a whole lot to that one. It's just kind of a silly, weird story. But I've kept it because I don't know, I guess I like remembering that moment and how proud I was to have a tattoo, how proud I was of my little tiny tattoo there that now just looks like someone smashed a bug on my shoulder. Anyway, so that was my first tattoo. My second tattoo I tried to give myself. And again, I'm not going to say how, lest I give people bad ideas. But it was poorly done, not using the right equipment. I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And to make matters worse, I didn't know how to take care of it after I did the tattoo. So all the ink just kind of came right back out my body. So it was, I tattooed my lower stomach, and it was some phrase I had translated into Sanskrit or Arabic. I'm not even sure which one, and I'm pretty sure I did not do it right. So I'm kind of glad it didn't work out, because the last thing I needed was to accidentally be saying something offensive because I don't know how to translate things and I don't speak Sanskrit or Arabic. I just thought the letters looked cool. Anyway, and then I also did one right here. And that one you can almost see, but I'm not going to show you that because I'd have to take my pants off for that. And this is not that kind of YouTube channel. Anyway, and so that was my second tattoo experience. I'm going to use your teacup to hold my book down. I hope that's okay. But feel free to take your cup and take sips if you need to. My third tattoo is after I moved to Virginia. I'm from Kansas City, by the way. Anyway, so my second tattoo is after I moved to Virginia, and I decided I wanted a better tattoo. So I went to a tattoo place in Gloucester, and I had this done. So at the time, the idea was to add to it and have this pattern go down my arm and across my chest. That obviously never happened, but it gave me something a bit more, I don't want to say respectable per se, but it felt like I had a real tattoo now. And so I was pretty happy about that. And so that is my what? 1, 2. That is my third tattoo. And then I didn't do anything for a long time. And then last summer, I had this done. So this is Latin. It's Mineo. And I might be mispronouncing that, my Latin enthusiasts out there. But I pronounce it Mineo. And roughly means to stay or abide. And last summer was when I really started confronting my thoughts of self-harm and clocking out early from the game of life. Let's call it that. Let's call it something friendly and fun. Yeah, I thought about clocking out early from the job of living. Anyway, and so, yeah, I was really beginning to confront those thoughts. And so that was I got that as kind of an encouragement to myself. A reminder to remain, to stay. My life has value and all that fun stuff. And so that's the reason behind that one. And then this tattoo here, the heart with the crown. So this is a bit of a longer story. So when my health crisis first started in 2017-ish, I think, the only thing we knew at the time was that my blood pressure was scary high, like insane high. And, you know, everybody had ideas of what they thought would help, and it was all very well-meaning, but very overwhelming. Everybody had an idea of how to fix it, something I could try, some diet I could do. And it just got so exhausting and overwhelming and frustrating. So one day I took myself out for breakfast and I started drawing hearts. And I ended up with this sketch of a heart that was actually cut into and bleeding with a Band-Aid over it. That was the original work of art, because that's what I felt like. I felt like my heart was bleeding and broken, and everybody was just throwing Band-Aids at me, and it wasn't doing any good. It wasn't fixing the problem. And so that was that initial drawing. And then I added a crown to it, and that came out of various conversations with students. I think I've mentioned in previous videos that one of my favorite things about teaching were what I call the secret lessons, meaning when the conversation would deviate from the curriculum and we would start talking about life and purpose and the meaning of life and how to live well and things like that. And somehow, I don't really remember where the phrase lead with your heart came from for me, but that became a thing, lead with your heart. And so my 8th grade class this would be, well, now we're into 2020, right when COVID and everything happened. But before COVID, I was in between teaching English and history to the 8th grade class. I had this group for 7th and 8th grade. And between moments like that, we were reading through Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the original Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from Grimm's Fairy Tales. And let me tell you, if you haven't read the original Grimm's Fairy Tales with a group of middle schoolers, you are missing out. They made that book come alive for me. Their comments, their thoughts around what was happening in the story, calling out the things that were ridiculous, and it was so good. It was so much fun. And so I ended up designing a hoodie kind of commemorating that moment, because it was one of my favorite teaching moments. I don't know why I decided to design a hoodie, but on the back of it, I decided that I wanted to put the heart with a crown over it. And so I took the heart that I drew, took a picture of it, scanned it on my iPad, traced over it digitally, made it a digital drawing, and then added a crown. Now, the first crown I added to it was just clip art, being honest with you. Nothing fancy. But then I later drew this crown instead, a simpler heart, and I made stickers out of it. I don't have any right now. I'm out of them. But I made a sticker out of it, and for a brief moment, like for a couple of years, I had a merch shop, if you will, and I I sold some of my designs on t-shirts and hoodies, like the hats that I showed that I wear. I shut that down not too long ago. I don't know. I just wasn't really pleased with the supplier, and I really started thinking about how these garments are sourced and can I find something ethical. Anyway, that's a whole other story. But anyway, and so that's where the design came from, and I just really loved it. I've always loved this kind of a heart with a crown. I like the fact that it's got this kind of broken divot in it. Leadership requires heart, and not heart like the touchy-feely emotional heart, but the visceral, raw. Here is what I'm struggling with. I am an imperfect, broken human too. I don't know. I feel like when you lead from those places, you tend to be more compassionate and understanding, and you fight to defend those who are in your charge all the fiercer, because I don't know. That's a leadership requires heart and love. There, short story. Anyway, and so that is the story of that tattoo. And then later on that summer, this one's harder to see, but it's a pair of hands holding hands, and that is for me and my wife. It is kind of commemorating, it is commemorating our relationship, yes. Also Loving Day, when it was legal to marry someone from a different race. And not that that was like a big, well, it was a little bit here and there in life. There were some, mostly it's people just curious why I married a white woman. And to be honest with you, it really wasn't because I was thinking in my head, I've got to marry a white woman. That wasn't like the plan. It just so happened to be that she was the second person in my life who I felt really saw me for who I was and who I was safe to be myself around. And as our friendship grew, and even as our relationship and our marriage has grown, she is consistently my biggest champion, encouraging me to be all of who I am. Like, I remember before we were even like dating, we were just friends, and we were at a restaurant, and she noticed that I was scooping the ice out of my water because I hate ice in my water. And she was like, why don't you just ask for no ice in your water? And I was like, oh, I can't do that. I was not terrified. Like, I wasn't afraid of anyone hurting me, but I was afraid of being seen as, I don't know, high maintenance, if you will. And anyways, yeah, so I would never ask for no ice in my water. And so the next time we went out to eat, as a group, she and a couple other friends told the waiter, hey, no ice in his water, please. And I was mortified. The waiter, of course, is a great person, because people, waiters and waitresses, whatever, servers are amazing, wonderful people. I've done the job myself, and, you know, they were totally cool and understanding. And so I learned a lesson there. Anyway, but yeah, that's what made me fall in love with her. I mean, yes, I do think she's beautiful, but as I said, and I think when I Ask Me Anything's talking about our marriage, it was just the fact that she saw me, and she loved me, and still loves me for who I am. And our marriage isn't perfect. I'm not perfect. She's not perfect. Just to be clear, we have our arguments and disagreements and fights like any other married couple, but that is something I love so much about her, is that she sees me. Anyway, and so that's what the hands are for. They're for that. And that's it. Those are all of my tattoos so far. I hope to get more. I want to get the butterfly with the skulls. I want that tattooed somewhere. I kind of want it on my thigh. I want a thigh tattoo. I don't know why. I just think they're really cool. And yeah, so that answers that question. And I'm going to keep building my Lego set. And I hope that you guys enjoy whatever else it is that you do today. Oh, do you have tattoos? let me know. And do you have ideas or suggestions of what I should get next as a tattoo? I'm always open to suggestions. All right, friends, it's time for your next adventure. I'll miss you. That is the completed unicorn. I absolutely love it. Needs a name.